Welcome back to the Crochet Creatos, my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today's the Family Pumpkin Festival hat. And now this has been designed all the way from newborn to adult men's size. There are 9 sizes available on just this one pattern alone, and it is just one page. Let's talk about how that's going to happen today, and you can pick the information that you need from this, and everything is available here on this one sheet of paper. So right here it says instructions are in the brackets are in this order. So we have newborn, and then the brackets start 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12, 12 to 24 months, toddler, child, small adult, medium adult, and large adult. So when you go and look at these sizes, when you have here it says chain, you're going to pick the number that matches it, and this is exactly in the same order as you see up here. Okay, so if I could get them both in here. So then you basically have the newborn all the way to adult. So what I would recommend if I were you is choose the size that you want to do in order to complete this project. So I'm going to do one for Daniel. So I'm gonna do the adult men. So I'm gonna do the 27. Okay, so the large adult is Daniel. And so when I have all this information, it says 1/2 double crochet in the next 3, 4, 6, 7. You're going to choose the number that matches the size that you want, and I would recommend that you circle it so it's in the same order each and every time. So when I get to row number 2, same thing, it's the last one, and this one here. So I'm gonna keep doing that all the way throughout this pattern. Circle the one that you want, and then it becomes a lot easier for you to be able to master. There you go. So it's all now been circled, so I'm going to follow those instructions when I get to those here on this pattern. So my friend Michelle came up with this design. She was freeforming it together with me just the other night in the studio, and I thought it was really kind of a cool idea. She had something similar to this last year for the Pumpkin Festival. I just think it's amazing. Here in Nova Scotia, pumpkin, the fall is a really huge deal, and I really wanted to go to the festival with something that I can make for myself. Also, if you're in a craft show that you would like to sell, this project in the adult size takes just over an hour to make, so it's not a lot of time commitment, and you can probably jack up the price because it is something very specific, and it's really super cute. So obviously the sizes will change, and the sizes that are available here were all the way from newborn, so you'd have a much smaller hat compared to this adult size that you have. So when you're going to do this, you're going to be doing this in rows back and forth. So you're just gonna go back and forth in rows. So one side of it stays the 1/2 double crochet, and then it changes over, and then it goes to single crochet, and then slip stitching right here in the end. I'm going to show you tips on being able to speed up this instead of having to count manically throughout this whole thing. So one side continues to stay up bigger, and the other side narrows in. So when I go to look at this from a perspective when it's open, the hat will look like this, okay, when it's open, and so it'll form this shape for you. So when you're getting all the way to the size that you need, you will just take this edge, put it over, and then slip stitch it all the way to the top of the hat. So to manically not count, what I'd like to do is for the 1/2 double crochets, I like to get my counts in, and then when I start to do the single crochet, that's where I'm going to put a traveling stitch marker that I would do. So that first single crochet will be there. So after the single crochet, there's a certain count. In this case there will be 5 single crochets and then 5 slip stitches. Just for the sake of making this pattern easier, I did all slip stitching to be the same 5, and then this dimension here of these mount and this mount changes depending on which size. So where it changes for the single crochet, I'd recommend that you put a stitch marker in there, therefore you can turn on the television and not have to worry and probably just count your last few stitches out, so what you have going on here. So let's get our yarn, and let's talk a little bit about that. How much yarn are you gonna need today? So the yarn of choice that I chose is Bernat Softy Chunky. This is called Pumpkin. Yeah, no, go figure, right? For an adult size here, I almost use the entire ball for the adult size, the biggest size. So if you're banking on an adult size, bank on 1 ball per hat. Now maybe for the small toddler sizes and all that, you can get a few hats out of this 1 ball. I haven't done that, so I don't know how far that's gonna go. And you just need a little bit of green. Now here in the green, I had this in my stash, but apparently this color is discontinued, so I'm recommending either a forest color. You may have this yarn here. This was called Grass in the Bernat Softy Chunky line, and of course you can just do whatever. These are just curly cues. There are 3 different sizes of them. You know, there's nothing strategic about a pumpkin in the sense that no pumpkin is ever the same, so I did 3 different sizes of vines in order to do that, and then I just attached it to the top of the hat. So we're going to be using an 8mm size L crochet hook, and we're going to begin, and I'm going to be demonstrating the largest size here, and you'll just have to substitute the information if you're making a smaller size. So from this point in the tutorial I'm going to be demonstrating the adult men's size. So when you have to choose the size, you could, if it was a newborn here, you'd only chain 14 to start. In my case it'll be 27. So pick the information that you have. Then for row 1, again pick the information that you have. Just refer back to here, and I'm not going to go through all of these numbers each and every time because it's too time consuming in a tutorial such as this. So you have the information here, just go and click on the more information link of this video and you will have access to this thing. So I'm going to begin to demonstrate it. Once you understand how this is done and that traveling stitch marker, I think that you can get it done pretty quick. So let's really begin now. So let's begin, and I'm going to start off with a slip knot. I consider this an easy level project because it really is. And so I want to chain a total of 27. Choose the information that matches the hat size you want to do. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go all the way to the number that you need. In my case it's 27. So have your traveling stitch marker ready. It's just a yarn that you're gonna, just a spare piece of yarn, and I want you to go and turn it around to the back hump of the chain. So just count back to the third chain. So 1, 2, 3, and go to the back hump of that third one, and I want you to half double crochet. So wrap the hook and going into the back, pull through and pull through there of the counts that you need to do. So in the next 14 chains it's gonna be half double crochet. So the 14 plus this one gives you a total count of 15. So what I would do if I were you, just count that as 1 and then go to the next one. So the back hump only. So 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So there should be 15 half double crochets from the edge. So the chain 2 that you skipped over doesn't count as a stitch. So just make sure you don't count that one. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So here's what I want you to do. In the adult size that we're about to do is that the next 5 will be a single crochet, but watch what I do first. The next one is just gonna be a single crochet. So single crochet that one in, but before you continue, grab that traveling stitch marker and just pull this out and pull that underneath the stitch. Therefore that represents the first single crochet before it transitions into this half double crochet, and it's a lot easier to keep an eye on that in the future. So that was 1 single crochet. So we have 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the final 5 stitches that you have left are each a single crochet. So we're just gonna go in, pull through and through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I want to show you a little cheating technique that will help you. So this is the 5th one, and just pull things nice and tight, and let's begin row number 2, and I'm gonna show you a little cheating technique. So row number 2 is going in the opposite direction. So you have single crochet or slip stitching first, single, and then half. So it's basically the opposite side. Now if I turn the project and I have to slip stitch in this first one, I'm never gonna see it very clearly. So before you turn, what I want you to do is just turn it so it's like I'm sitting right here behind the camera. So I just turn it so it's clear here, and I'm gonna go into the back loop only. So for now the remaining of the project in the back loop only. So just going in and pull through and through. It's easier to do that with it turned in that angle for the first time than it is to turn it and then look for it. So once you have the first one in, so that was 1 of 5, so in the back loop only, so you slip it, this is 2, go to the next one, this is 3, 4, and 5. So the slip stitching was the same on every one of the size hats. So the remaining 5 that you have left, because that's what it states, is in single crochet. So we have 1, so it's gonna get slightly bigger in the stitch wise, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Noticing where I am, this is a single crochet, I marked it. So because I marked it, I know that this is the last single crochet, and mathematically it is. So going underneath the stitch, grab that stitch marker and just pull a piece of it through so you can see it again in the future. So that remains now the final stitches that you have left now are each gonna be a half double crochet, so there should be 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, and that takes you right to the last one. So I would count it the first time going all the way back just to make sure you got it. So that was 15, and so you can see it's more thicker on this side and narrowing off on this side. So we're now going to begin row number 3. So in row number 3 it's just starting with the big side first, so turn it. So remember in the pattern there it stated, if you didn't read it and I didn't say it already, is chain 2 at the beginning of a row doesn't count as a stitch. It keeps the edge nicely looking. So your very first stitch is straight down in, so just wrap the hook going into the back loop, and you can either count it or you can trust in yourself that when you hit the stitch marker that's where the single crochet is gonna start. So I'm gonna keep trusting in myself at this point. It saves me having to count all those stitches. And so this pattern doesn't take long at all if you use those stitch markers to be able to help you. If you're involved in selling crafts, this may be a really cute idea, especially for a fall festival or leading up to the fall. And it's quite novelty and it's quite cute. So you don't hear me count it because I'm trusting in myself, and because I've already done the pattern once I don't need to count because I'm using the stitch marker. So the next one is stitch marked, so the next 5 in a row will be a single crochet. So 1, 2, but make sure that on the first single crochet that you just did, pull that stitch marker through so you can keep an eye on it. So I've already done 2, this is 3, 4, and 5, and that remains, then the remaining is a slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. The 5th one is not always the easiest to see, but it is there. So pull through and through. And now to go in the other direction, before you turn it all the way around, just simply go into the first back loop only. See the angle that I'm looking at it? It's just easier to look at it from that angle, and then pull it through, and then you can fully turn it around. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now in my case there's 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and look where that slip stitch is, or that stitch marker. It's on the 5th one. So pull that through and then keep an eye on it, and then the remaining is just going to be half double crochets. So what I want you to do is that I want you to go back and forth doing this until you get to the amount of inches that you need in order to cover the circumference. You may want to try it on somebody if you know somebody that is wearing this, or you can use a tape measure as well. And we have to make sure that when we go to finish the sizing that we finish in this direction. So we're finishing on the fat side of the project. So where this half double crochets are, that's where we're going to finish the last row, and that is going to allow us to slip stitch the seam to go all the way back to the top of the hat to form the hat in its completion. So coming all the way to the last one, turn, and then go back. Okay, so you're basically, your hat is being made in this direction, so it's gonna keep getting wider on the bottom, and then it's gonna get more narrow on the top, and that's what we're looking at doing when you look at it from this perspective. So please go back and forth now to the dimension that you need, and when I come back I will have that done, and then we'll just review on how to seam it, and then we'll do the curly Q vines at the top. So I've come to the end of making this panel. So what I've done is that I've taken a measurement of it, and just resting it is about, I have to follow the circumference around, so just following it along. And I want it so that I can slightly stretch it. If you make it too big when it goes on somebody's head, it's gonna overstretch to them. Daniel is 23 inches for his forehead, and so what I wanted to do is just make sure that it was just a little bit less here if it's just relaxed, so if it stretches it gets to the size that you want to get to. Now for the adult size here, this is how much yarn you have left. So you see that it really does take up everything. So what I want you to do now is that we're going to take the two edges. You can take out the stitch marker if you wish and just give it a good fluff, and we are going to then close off this seam. So putting the hook back into the loop, just grab the same strand, so just grab the back loop of the other side. So just going into the back loop of the starting one, and I want you to get that yarn up in the back loop of this one here on the opposite side, and we're just gonna slip stitch it. So slip the first one, so go in the back loop of the first one and then back loop of the next, and you're just going to slip it all the way up to the top of the hat. If you're unsure, just take a look at it, just do a few and just take a look and see if it's satisfactory for you. And this is closing it off without having to sew it. So nobody likes sewing, right? So this is a great way to do that. So you're just matching stitch to stitch as you're going all the way to the top. Keep an eye on the top, making sure that they're not growing unequally when you go to do that. So go all the way to the top and I'll see you there in just a moment. Now that I've gone all the way to the top, I have the seam line. So I'm classifying this as the inside of the hat. So when I go to wear it, we'll be flipping it inside out. So let's just take a larger strand. So don't cut it too short. And what I want you to do is just pull that through the final loop. And I want you to grab a tapestry needle. So what we have to do at this point is grabbing the tapestry needle, I want to collect the remaining of these stitches here at the top. So what I'm gonna do first is that I'm gonna take the starting strand that I had, and I'm gonna get that out of the way first so it's not in my way. So I'm just gonna just glide it through a few of the stitches. Stay on this side of the work. This, I told you, it's already the inside of the hat, so you want to favor the inside of the hat for that. Okay, so just pulling it through. Just gotta pull it through a couple times because it's already got a slip knot when you started, so it shouldn't fall out on you anyway. Once you get that in there, just trim it. So now what we want to take is the other strand that we just cut, and I want to collect the stitches at the top. So just collecting. Okay, so just gliding it in. This needle that I'm using is fabulous for certain applications, but this is definitely not one of them. It doesn't like to glide within this plastic piece here, if you're ever keeping an eye on the kind of materials that I'm using here on camera. So I'm just grabbing underneath a few of the stitches and just pull, and that will close the top. So now what I want to do is just close it completely and just gliding in. This is the inside of the hat, so just make sure it catches onto a knot, and do that a few times. If you're selling this kind of hat, you do want to take your time with how you finish it. Okay, so I'm satisfied with that. So now I'm gonna cut my yarn now, and I'm going to begin the vines. There are 3 different vines, and let's turn this the other way. So this is the way that you're going to wear it. So I was on the inside of the hat, and now we're turning it to the proper side, and this is what it looks like here on the top. Just give it a bit of a stretch, and there you go. And I don't think you can see the seam line in here at all. No, it's good. So the seam line is actually right here. So it's actually in this groove right here. So let's begin the curly vines. There are 3 different sizes, but they're all done in the same way. So the vines are all done in the same way. Just leave an extra long tail to begin, and just create a slip knot for your hook. So you have to do a chain of 20 or a chain of 25 or 30 depending on which one you're working on. So I'm gonna just do a 20 because it's just easier to show you the quick one here on camera. So just chain 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And once you have your 20 on there, I want you to go second chain from the hook. So just count it back and get the back hump only. And I want you to put 3 single crochets in that one. So 1, 2, and 3, and then move to the next chain, and you'll do this all the way down to the beginning. So there will be 3 in the next one, and you'll notice that it will start curling on its own because you're putting in way too many stitches for the chain. So there's 3 in that one, move to the next one, another 3. So go all the way down to the end of the chain and you will end up with a perfect curlicue, and then I'll show you how to fasten it off, and then you can make the other 2 on your own. Okay, once you get all the way to the end, I want you to just fasten this off, leave an extra long tail. I want you to do the other 2. So this one was chaining a 20, so there's 25 and 30, and you're going to use these 2 strands to tie it into the top of the hat. So when you go to do this, and I'll show you how to do it as well, just do the one here. I might as well just do it right now. So I want to stick my hook through the top of the hat, just coming out somewhere. It's pretty tight up here. So just sticking in my hook, just grab one of the strands and pull it through. You'll want to do this with all 3, like at different times. So, and then I want to go somewhere across the top of the hat, so I don't want to go in the same spot. So then grab the other strand that's holding to that and pull it through. So let's just go in the inside of the hat and pull those through. Okay, so pull your strands, make sure it's nice and tight to the top, and all you just need to do is tie it into a knot here on this side. And then once you get it nice and tight, then just trim that off nice and close. So you want to do all 3 curlicues the same way, and once you do the one attaching, you can kind of see where you probably could attach it to a few more spices. So do all 3 and then we'll be right back. So here's my hats. They're completely done. I like to roll my brims. I provided a little bit of extra so you can do that, but Daniel prefers his to be down like this. So again, that's up to you and how you want to wear it, and I think it's pretty awesome. Daniel and I are now ready for the Pumpkin Festivals of fall 2019, and hopefully you've enjoyed this pattern as we've been making it together. So happy Pumpkin Festival, and we'll see you again really soon.